Well, on the one hand, we've got the Senate asking President Umaru Yar'Adua to submit a medical vacation letter to the National Assembly because he's being deemed unfit to run the country. On the other hand, we've got the Federal Executive Council saying that the president is the only one who can decide what his fitness levels are. What sense are you making of all that's playing out? Because we're leaning towards very contradictory reports here.
Well, Nigeria is a country of contradictions. The Senate is dominated by the ruling party, the same party that elected the president that composed the Federal Executive Council. And both of them have disagreed, certainly on a very crucial. Recall that the court in Abuja had given a 2-week deadline for the Federal Executive Council to come up with a decision on this matter. But it was always clear to observers here that having the Federal Executive Council appointed by the president say essentially that the same president is no longer capable of carrying on with his duties was going to be a very difficult thing, especially if that were done in an open ballot. And this time we have no record whether there was a ballot at all. We have no record whether there was a medical expert in attendance. But I think the Senate appears to have made a decision that pleased quite a number of Nigerians, and the hope is that over time that the position of the Senate will be the one that prevails.
To keep in mind is that last week, Wednesday, we saw a 14-day deadline being given to this entire situation. We've got 1 week down and 1 week to go. I mean, do you see resolution really coming to the fore before next week, Wednesday?
It is unlikely that this will be resolved in a matter of days because the position of the Federal Executive Council and that of the Senate are so far apart. The ruling People's Democratic Party appears unable at the moment to create a consensus within its own rank. And the hope is that in the days leading up to Wednesday next week, that there will be some attempt at reaching a consensus in terms of how to go forward.
What happens if that consensus is not reached by next week, Wednesday? What's the next step as you see it in your books?
There are quite a number of options. One option will be for the Federal Executive Council to launch an appeal against the High Court decision, which may stay the execution of that decision for a while or have it overturned at some point. There is also the option that the president could certainly show up, even if that appears unlikely at the moment, but we can't completely rule that out. The third option will be the People's Democratic Party choosing to do the will of the people of Nigeria by getting the president to submit a letter to the National Assembly saying that he is unable for a time to perform his duties and allowing the vice president to then act in that capacity.
Why has that measure faced so much resistance, the actual temporarily handing over powers to Vice President Goodluck Jonathan?
Well, I think there isn't the courage to do that which should be done in our leaders, and I think that is one very sad development. There is also, I'm not a lawyer, but I hear very divergent interpretation of the same sections of the Constitution. Some say that the Constitution does not necessarily compel the president to do what is being demanded and asked of him now, while others take the view that that is in fact what the Constitution seeks to do. But Nigeria, as I said earlier, is a country of contradictions. We tend to push ourselves to the brink quite often and somehow miraculously manage to pull ourselves back at some point.
Of course, in the meantime, you know, what we're facing, a debate like this, an uncertainty like this, leaves much room for speculation. Some senators had different reasons for their position on the need to transmit a vacation letter to the National Assembly. Is some of the speculation that's out there at the moment, saying that some are out to actually embarrass the state governors, rooting to replace them in Senate. Do you see this entrenching some kind of divide in government?
I think that is happening. I mean, you have a situation where the governors, it was from among their ranks that Yar'Adua emerged in 2007, so they're still solidly in support of Yar'Adua, and because they control the reins of power in the 36 states of the country, they tend to have considerable influence over the way that members of the National Assembly tend to vote. But I think things are coming to a head very quickly. There is a limit to which the governors can continue to influence the federal legislatures on the matter where it appears the views of Nigerians are quite clear. And so the expectation is that at some point, even the governors will see that it is in their own interest, and indeed that of Yar'Adua.
Especially in a context, Frank, when we've got the petroleum industry bill looking to be passed at the National Assembly. There's the asset management company also looking to be formulated for the banking industry. Those are two big proponents that affect the Nigerian economy at this stage. Overall, what do you see being the impact of this leadership vacuum that the country has experienced thus far?
It has been quite devastating. Leading business people in Nigeria have spoken of their frustration and the pain that they experience on a daily basis as a result of the political vacuum that has meant that governance has grounded to a halt, essentially. As you say, the asset management bill, the petroleum industry bill, they are all stuck in the National Assembly. The preoccupation is essentially what to do about the absence of a president. So, in a lot of ways, Nigeria is really in pain economically. And you remember that the recession had a significant impact on economic fortunes in Nigeria, and we had hoped that at a time like this we'll begin to work our way out of it. But that's not happening at all. In fact, there isn't anyone that I know of senior enough in government that has his hand on the economic plow at the moment.